I know we threw you up to the Mixer Skycam. We're back down here. We sent MK off, we sent Ethan off, and I've got some wonderful guests now who've joined me on stage. We have Elisa, who's works over at Gearbox.
Yes, Gearbox.
And we have, I want to make sure I get this right, Guillaume.
That's right.
Who is actually the founder of Compulsion Games. Thank you for joining us on stage.
Pleasure.
It's a huge honor to have you up here. So, a little bit of a fan. So, as you can tell by his shirt, we're going to talk about We Happy Few.
That's right.
Yes.
And so I'm very, very excited. For those at home who may not know, let's just start at the top here. We Happy Few, what is it basically in its core?
Well, it's a 1960s dystopian world where everybody's high on this drug called joy. And you're basically, playing one of three characters. There's three characters in the final game.
Yep.
And there are characters that are not on the drug. And so there's components where you have to kind of conform within the society so people don't realize you're not quite following some sometimes crazy, wacky rules. And the main character that you start with, which we're going to show footage of today, is just trying to actually escape the island of Wellington Wells.
Ooh, okay, I like that.
Yes.
And yeah, you guys are right now in-game preview, just to point out, on Xbox.
That's
so
right.
People want to grab it, they can grab it right now on Xbox and play it in game preview. But you guys had a big announcement with Gearbox.
Yes.
If you want to maybe shed a little light on that, because that was kind of a really big deal for you, for Compulsion Games.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. So we just announced that we, Gearbox Publishing, are the official publisher for We Happy Few. We are so excited. Now this is a story that went on. It went back a ways. Could you tell Josh how it is that we managed to hook up?
Well,
Spin me a tale.
Well, apparently Randy likes magic. That's a fairly well-known fact, I think. And our first game was a small game we released for the hardware launch of the PlayStation 4 called Contrast. And it heavily featured magicians, and we talked to the folks at Gearbox at the time about the idea of working together. But Gearbox didn't really have any publishing initiatives at that time. And then
Yeah, so then as soon as Gearbox Publishing started in earnest, we were looking for titles, and our head of publishing, Steve, went to Epic and said, hey, do you know of any cool titles that we might be able to pick up as a publisher? And We Happy Few was one of them, and we went, oh, yes, this one is the one.
Yeah, I mean, for us as a developer, we were in a pretty good position with We Happy Few. We'd been, doing well in early access and games preview, but we realized that the fans wanted something that was at a level that you can't deliver without the help of a major partner. We're big fans. I'm a personal big fan of Borderlands, and
I don't think there are many who are not big fans of Borderlands. Let's be honest. I myself, I think I've stuck like over 100 hours in your games, if not more. Even the Telltale versions. Like if it is Borderlands, I've got a little claptrap stuffed robot in there. So many fans of Gearbox. That's what I think was most exciting, is seeing a beloved franchise, a beloved company like Gearbox, basically kind of wrap into a game of like We Happy Few, because many people love the game. I remember when you guys first dropped that trailer. Super creepy, super off-putting, because if I remember right, it was at E3.
Yep.
I don't know if there's, I think it was last year's E3 is when it first dropped,
Yep.
if I remember right. But we were getting all these rock and roll like trailers and rock and roll songs, and then suddenly you guys like with a left hook kind of came in there like, we're going to change the tone up, go a little bit more clockwork, going to get a little weird, it's going to get a little different. What's some of the reactions that you guys have had? Because you've been in game preview, so people have gotten their hands on it. I'm kind of curious, what's some of those initial reactions or your community?
Well, game preview obviously is an alpha version of the game, so it's not a completed version of the game. It doesn't have all the story elements that we were intended or that we're currently putting in the final game. I think the general reaction is that the story and the atmosphere that's in the game is really something that people want more of.
Yes.
So we've been working really hard, both with our game preview audience and with the early access audience on Steam, to actually add more story and lore elements to the world. And we've been building a campaign that we're releasing in April 2018 with Gearbox.
Yep.
That reflects a little bit more of that section that we showed at Microsoft.
I think it's important with features like early access on Steam or game preview on Xbox. You be able to get gamers their hands on the game. It's not the full game, but I like the idea of you get an appetizer, maybe.
Yeah,
you get a slice of cheesecake before your dinner, maybe. But it's like, hey, there's more cheesecake after dinner. You just gotta keep going, because that gives them a chance to maybe call it transparent game development. Kind of gives a peek under the hood, how the cake. I'm hungry. I'm gonna just talk about cake all the time, apparently. Kind of how it's made. I really like the idea of that transparent kind of game development where you can bring in the feedback, because now you guys know people want one hell of a campaign. They're very excited for the story and the mood and tone you set, because it's very different.
Yeah, it's always a touch and go thing, because obviously if you're making a real long, interesting story, you don't want to release a half-assed based story.
No.
So what we've done is we've put all the mechanics out there for the players to see, and we've actually been doing videos and blog posts every single week for the last 2 years. So there's over 112 or 120.
That's insane. I've seen some of them. I didn't realize it was every
single week. Yeah,
that's some dedication. Kudos to your community team for keeping up with that.
Yeah.
I know that can take a lot of effort.
Not just the community team, the developers themselves.
Yeah, so it's the whole studio, pretty much.
Yeah.
Oh, the whole
gets
studio
involved.
just comes together and evolves in it. That's really awesome. Where can people actually watch those?
On our YouTube channel. So Compulsion Games' YouTube channel has our developer diaries every week. We'll also be sharing them, I think, on Gearbox's, We Happy Few official channel.
Yeah, so at We Happy Few Game on Twitter, as well as our Facebook page. We'll have all of those up there, too.
Nice. Yeah, you guys have been really fun engaging with the community I've seen over there. So, and I'm excited about the Gearbox. I feel like the Gearbox involvement will help it'll take everything we love about We Happy Few and make sure the audience around the world can kind of get their hands on it.
Yeah, and rest assured, like this is an amazing, strong, fantastic, weird, and wonderful creative vision that they have for this game, which is kind of why we fell in love with it in the first place. So, we kind of help with bringing it to retail, kind of supporting development, making sure that, they can focus on, taking that creative vision across the finish line. We put it in a box, but, I'm so excited.
Game to make, and then you guys can help package it up at the end of the day and get it out there for everyone.
Yeah, basically. I'm super stoked.
As I say, we actually have some B-roll here that it would actually be worth pointing out. And I believe this is even in the starting of the game, beginning of the game.
No, actually, this is a different
This is a little
area.
later.
Yeah,
It's a little further on.
Yeah, it's a little bit later. Basically, one of the feedback the community gave us is they wanted to see more about the first character, Arthur, and learn a little bit more about his history. So, Arthur.
People definitely have been taking their joy.
Yes.
And Arthur, who used to be a journalist, actually goes back to the place where he worked as a journalist, and we're giving a little bit more background info about.
Oh, so he's going back. Oh.
Yeah.
Because I remember the first time when you woke up, when you started, and you went through that first experience. So this is almost like a return.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're showing a little bit of the puzzle solving and the interaction with people where you could go in and try to bash everyone in the head, but you're trying to actually get the attention of the editor-in-chief here on the top floor. So the idea is just being able to actually distract everyone without revealing that, you're not one of the throng.
Did you offer him a bottle?
Yep.
There we go. Non-branded water.
Yes. Yeah, so that's kind of one way to do it. I've
there we go.
played this a couple of times, and, at first I was sort of like, well, I could probably kind of bash my way through this, but I kind of wanted to, figure out a way to be sophisticated with it. So that's kind of cool that the game has kind of different opportunities to kind of do it more stealthily, do it through taking joy and conform.
So some of these puzzles or approaches you need, like being able to get to the editor, it's not just a linear path. You can go through different ways to be able to
That's right.
attain the same objective.
Yeah, that's right. There's several pillars in the game. One is conformity, so the ability to actually do what you're supposed to do in the right situations. Be high on the drug when you should be, for example. You can see we're coming down from the drug here, so we're seeing the after effects of.
Is that where like the flies are coming?
The flies will come down, and the actual.
So your
visuals
joy
will
is
change.
wearing off.
Yes.
That's right. Yeah.
Does the nuance of the character change? It look like, because it almost looks like he was definitely like sauntering in the beginning.
You get super stoked when you're on joy, and then when you are off it.
Yeah, actually everything changes.
Yeah.
If you hit someone and you're high on joy, you'll get flowers, people will be laughing instead of hurting. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You'll see double rainbows in the sky. And then when you're crashing, you'll get the inverse. People have glowing eyes. And
very dark, very...
Yes.
Oh, wow. I love the dichotomy of it, because it's basically, even though you can go different paths to get the same objective, it also is a different experience. So I can maybe go the same path, but if I have joy or when I don't have joy, I'll visual experiences. I'll get two different ones, essentially.
That's right. Yeah.
That's insane. That's crazy. And I think we do even have a trailer, too, that we might be able to queue up here in a little bit.
Yes.
It's me going to tell the guys to get the trailer queued up. While the trailer is queuing up, you guys have been wonderful enough to provide us with some tokens for the game.
Yes.
So our moderator in chat, actually, if you could go ahead and roll 5 giveaways. We have 5 copies of the Xbox game preview code.
Yep.
Now, and this isn't just a preview code and then it'll expire. This will actually get you the game when it launches, which is
April 13th. 15th next year.
And you guys just dropped that when you
Yep.
you did the announcement with
Yeah, big announcement a couple of years ago.
That's very exciting.
Yeah.
So yep, there we go. Hypebot's gonna go ahead and drop those. I see wonderful people in chat. Yellow's other Mixer employees who are also celebrating who
Nice.
couldn't make it to PAX. So there we go. So Hypebot's gonna give those away.
Thank you,
We're giving
Jazzy.
you guys
Give
the
away
codes.
Hype.
Yes, and thank you guys for providing those codes. That's wonderful.
Of course.
And I think they're still queuing up the game trailer. I'm gonna try to just make eye contact with one of them. There we go. There's the game trailer.
Awesome.
I want you to have fish.
Got you.
You have no right to touch me!
You look like a bed and breakfast. You chocolate.
And yearning shall avail thee not.
Are you sure it's safe to get that close?
I'll fix you. Move along, please. What's done is done. Get yourself back to the garden.
Very good.
Demon eyes, bloody bats and human pies, severed limbs and compromise when I'm not with you. Screaming trees, all the things I can't unsee, rolling heads and falling teeth when I'm not with you. Joy, it's time to make you mine.
The early production of the game.
Yep.
Oh, and the collector's set might even. There we go. Hey, we're back. Sorry, we were enjoying the trailer down here, and this is on a sub-second delay too, so it comes almost quite back while we just like are all nerdily staring down here.
Wow.
So what people just saw was one of the latest trailers, actually.
Yes.
And when did that one drop?
A couple of weeks ago on August 16th.
Our audio now works. Hello.
Hello.
Now we're being broadcast by all. That's super cool.
Yeah.
I love the mood and the tone set of that. And again, and it was that. What's that? Is it Uncle Jack?
Yes.
That's right.
The real life character, with the mask on. I noticed that because I think in the first trailer he was almost doing like little skit ads, like have you taken your joy?
That's right. Yeah, we've done several shooting sessions with Julian actually because he's been a very popular character in the game, and people wanted more of him. So we've been shooting additional episodes with him, from everything from how to cook with sawdust when there's nothing else to eat, or what to do about scurvy when you don't have any medicine, for example.
Interesting. Interesting. So you might even learn a thing or two, maybe. Well, debatable if it's actually questionable. There's a lot of people in chat I saw even, and I think you saw a question as well.
That's right. We saw a couple of questions. I saw one question that asked if the game was out and completed. So to clarify, the game is currently available in Games Preview in early access, but it is an alpha version of the game that does not yet include the story. So the final story comes in April 13th, 2018. So you guys can try out a shorter version of the game that has the intro that we showed at E3, as well as most of the game mechanic and in the procedurally generated world.
So really kind of get introduced to the character a little bit,
Yeah.
and then start to get used to the mechanics of the game. Because we can even chat a little bit about the mechanics of the game, because I think some of the nuances there that are, We Happy Few are kind of exclusive to your gameplay.
Yeah, I mean, from a gameplay perspective, there are survival mechanics inside of. So you do have to drink water and eat food.
It's important. A lot of people don't realize that as well.
And then, the world is actually procedurally generated. So there's large sections that you experience, like the one we showed in the earlier footage, is an inside section that's been carefully crafted for you to have a specific experience. But if you go out on the street and in the world, where that place is will change every time you play. And the different encounters that you're going to get, there's certain encounters will only happen in certain playthroughs. The way we promote that is that there's multiple characters to play through, there's multiple stories to play through. And
Right, you're not just playing one character.
You're not just playing one character. There's 3 characters that are shipping in April 2018, and the world is different. Joy has this side effect when you take it that it messes up with your memory, and the world kind of gets messed up, as a result of it.
I've noticed there might be some side effects. I mean, while Joy may sound great and nice, there definitely are maybe some negative things that might not be so great about it. Oh yeah, and here we go. Actually, there's even some more footage here. And I love this little saunter he's got.
Yeah. Zon is Joy. Yeah.
He just got decked down and fell. And no, he doesn't care.
He saunters like that when he's on Joy, actually.
Yep.
Yep.
And so basically, this whole world will change if he wouldn't work on his. I mean, there's a table, there's a chair.
Yeah, but
the interior spaces don't change. The interior spaces are built as custom pieces because what we want to do is we want to make sure that the adventures that you get inside these places are carefully crafted, so that you can actually get the narrative elements with the experience that we intended for the player to get. But there are some encounters, like this is one of the encounters, for example. Some encounters won't appear in certain areas of the world, and the entire layout of the world changes. So the world is there's subsection of the world that are divided by islands right now, and they're separated by these checkpoint obstacles. And basically, what the checkpoints are, what the challenges are, and what they bring you back to do inside the islands in order to get through them does change every time that you play.
I like that. So basically, it's that procedural generation to it, so it kind of mixes it up a little bit.
Yeah, but we wanted to be careful because we didn't want to make some random, procedural, repeatable, forgettable world. We wanted to create a world that had that nice mix of having a different experience each time you play, but still had carefully crafted areas that you could, explore in a way that...
So you're not quite pulling somebody out of the world, so to speak, or out of the experience.
That's right.
I feel like they're in the experience. They still feel like they're still in the same storyline-esque that they're going along in the game, but it's still adding some flavor here. And I see it looks like you just
disarmed a trap. Yes.
So Battleball Vine is asking what's the anticipated length of playtime. For the story right now, we are tracking at least 15 hours of gameplay. It's hard to tell right now because of the procedural world and because the game's not completely done. We don't want to, put a higher number yet or put a hard number on those things, but it is going to be sufficiently long, I think, to make everyone happy with regards to having enough from the Wildling Worlds universe.
nice. And if you do see any questions, feel free to grab them as chat scrolls by.
ODST, is there an Xbox One X enhancement? Microsoft was a huge proponent and partner with the game. They put us on the E3 stage last year. For me, it was one of the biggest experiences of my life, actually. And we, in exchange, promised that we would do everything in our power to support everything that Microsoft does with regards to the console world, and that does include Xbox One X. We have a dev kit at work, and we've been hard at work tinkering with it. So
yeah, I think it's exciting to see, and I know Microsoft has worked really hard on making sure developers have all the tools and equipment they can to optimize for the Xbox One X. But your game is coming out on many platforms, and it's worth plugging as well.
Yeah. As part of our announcement, we also announced that the game is coming to PS4 as well, PS4 Pro.
Yep.
So that's kind of, part of one of the things that we kind of help bring as Gearbox Publishing is like we want as many people as possible to be able to experience this awesome world of We Happy Few. So we're super excited.
At the end of the day, when somebody makes an amazing game,
yeah.
the publisher comes in, you want as many people in the world to experience that, and we know they're on all different platforms.
Yes.
And then someone is even calling out, you guys talked a little bit about your collector's edition, it looked like you're going to have for the game?
Yes, so that is a collector's set. It's sort of like a almost like a time capsule, if you will, with a few kind of cool items to kind of help kind of set up the world. We have a cool-looking vinyl in there, a nice lamp that looks like one of the lamps that's featured in the world. It says, "You look smashing," so you can see that and smile. It's almost as if you've taken your joy without having actually taken your joy.
No real joy comes in the collector's edition.
No.
Thank goodness.
I just want to clarify that it isn't a collector's edition because it does not come with the game. So I want to make sure there's no confusion. It was really important for us to have a number of collectors' elements that our existing backers could actually support. So we made the difficult decision not to put the game in that specific set. So I don't want to mislead players into thinking it's a collector's edition.
Absolutely, no. Thank you, and it's very worth pointing out.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of fans who love the nuances of games, the atmosphere of the games, and I think it's kind of cool that you guys give that opportunity that for those really passionate, excited fans who want to go a little bit above and beyond and make sure they have props from the game that they can represent those well.
It's props from the game, but it's also a celebration of all the art and all the work that went behind the game. So we have done obviously extensive to get a game that looks like this. Our art director Whitney, who is a great artist that I love working with, has been doing concept art and doing work on the development of the world for the last 3 years. And for us, it's also a celebration of being able to put that all together in a package for fans who want to know a little bit more about the background of the game, the world, and how we actually came in to build it, on top of some cool props.
So it's almost like a little bit extra and more. I didn't realize it went that far down because you guys have gotten tons of kudos and praise for the art style of the game alone. I know it's super exciting. The same thing, I'm seeing a lot of people in chat here. They're definitely showing some excitement. One of the things I think that was cool to point out is, and people are noticing, is the traps. You have some platform elements as well. Like we just saw, there was an electric field down below.
Yes.
But you can't just walk across that.
Nope, you had to throw a body on that in order to make that work.
It only feels appropriate, and I almost love this. I've actually never seen this part right here. It looks like it's almost like behind the set of the pretty houses and everything beautiful on the street.
Yeah, this is the underground.
I didn't even know there was an underground.
Well, there's sections of the underground that you can go to. Obviously, again, we wanted to really develop the lore and history of the world. And again, these are parts that are actually available right now in their game preview early access portion of the game. And it's basically developing the history and the lore of a world involves revealing over time all the different components that make up that world. So as one of the quests here, you're asked to actually go down in the underground sections of the world to understand what's happened with this thing called modeling. Modeling being the power source, that pink power source that you see everywhere in the world. And you get to notice that a lot of the actual elements of the world and infrastructure of the world has been breaking down because people have been taking too much joy.
Too much joy leads to not enough actual real hard work.
That's correct. Yeah.
So it almost seems like the city itself is decaying in a way or sort.
Yes,
to a certain degree.
You're really at the onset of the world, and this was the original vision for the game, was to say, hey, these people are taking this drug to be happy all the time, but over time it's made them less capable of actually creating a functioning society, and it adds like an additional layer for the character to want to get out, because obviously the world's about to fall into decay.
So it's basically on that precipice before everything starts to kind of fall through.
Yes.
I love the foreshadowing there. I'm very, very curious. And again, you guys do have a story element to this game. You guys are doubling down almost, it seems like, based on your feedback from the alpha and the preview on Steam. I think that's really cool, really exciting. I'm kind of curious, do you think that makes game development easier, harder, or kind of in the middle when you look, like the decision behind you guys saying, let's put a piece of our baby out there in the wild and like let people experience it, not quite fully done, but getting kind of towards
it's a double-edged sword. I like to give out perfect things that everyone loves all the time. But on the flip side, for us, it's really helped change. It hasn't changed the nature of the game, but it has shown us that we needed to spend more time in certain areas of the game. So the idea of saying, wow, I really love, that intro sequence that we showed at E3. We really want more of that experience, the experiential value of actually being, able to go through and experience more of the world that we've created. Means, definitely double downing in terms of the team size and the amount of development efforts we put down the game, but at the end of the day, we celebrate what gamers and fans love about the games that we create. And I think getting all of that early feedback allowed us to, one, iron out the kinks, but two, really see the potential for what the game could become. and just jump on the bandwagon of realizing that vision more fully with the team.
I definitely like that. I appreciate, the honest answer. I know it can be a double-edged sword both ways.
Yeah.
But I know the community is always super excited, and they get charged when games and game developers decide to, okay, we're going to show you, we're going to show you a little bit more than we're ready to, or we're going to show you a slice of where we're going, and kind of want to see that feedback. So as a fan myself, I personally enjoy it. I like the idea of okay, let's provide feedback, because again, for me, I'm a story-driven gamer. So if you release a game and I see a bit of a story element, I'm going to be in your forums going, I would love this. I want more story. I want more characters. But I mean, that's just my personal flavor.
Well, you're in luck.
Yeah. We got a game for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, we've had moments where we would release an update and the community was all over certain elements from it, and then in those cases, it really acts like a huge morale boost for the team internally, and it turbocharges us to actually do better. And we've had moments where we made announcements that were less popular. And I think that's also important. I think it's also a good and important part of the business of the development cycle, because it tells us we need to not automatically make a different game, because we are authors, and the type of game we want to make is something that is true to us. The reason the game will be good is because we love the game we do. But it has been, on occasion, a situation to step back and say, okay, well, if the community is angry or upset about something, maybe we should do a course correction.
Yeah, I think it's just worth pointing out, that kind of opportunity, that kind of game development. You see it's becoming a little prevalent. It's not taking over the industry, but it exists. So it's just an appreciation there. One thing I always get whenever we talk about this game, we've talked about it on some previous shows before, or we've highlighted We Happy Few, or showed off some of the trailers. People get very excited about the atmosphere, the story, and the nuance. I'm just kind of curious if I can selfishly ask. We can turn off the cameras.
Sure.
Selfishly ask, where did this start? Are you just sitting around there eating some tacos and drinking, I don't know, coffee? I'm hungry, by the way. And you're just like, you know what? What if these guys take this drug and it makes them happy, but when they're off it and the world's crumbling, I'm just kind of curious, that moment where, and then this is We Happy Few.
It's not a moment. It doesn't happen in a singular moment. I think we start talking about new games almost a year before we even start pre-production.
Wow.
And on the creative team, we were a pretty small team when we started this. We were about 7 people when we finished Contrast, and we're around 40 developers now. So we've grown a lot during the course of this project. Really, it's a combination of inspiration. We look at movies a lot. We look at books. So Brave New World was, one of the inspirations.
Current culture, past culture.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. We looked at, Stanley Kubrick's work, Clockwork Orange, for example.
I feel like I saw some Stanley Kubrick in here.
And Whitney, our art director, when we discussed, the idea of, I think one of the first key things that came up is I wanted us to make a dystopia. I was a big fan of dystopian, and we didn't want to make something that was just 1984 cookie cutter type dystopian world. We wanted to make something that had a little bit more pizzazz to it.
So you were kind of in love with the idea of that theme, but didn't want to just go copy, paste.
Yeah.
Kind of wanted to okay, we like the idea, but let's make it our own.
Yeah. And then I spoke to Whitney, who is our art director, who has a very, very preponderant role in the creative process, because obviously she draws what you guys see on the screen. And she builds the visual look.
We have a piece of her art, I think, that we might be able to show.
Nice.
Well.
Yeah, we'll let him know that. They'll cue that piece of art up there. Yeah, he looks like he's going to get it queued up.
Awesome. Yeah, because that art style is so unique, and I absolutely fell in love with it.
It sounds like you have a wizard in your art department who just
she's amazing.
Amazing things.
She's amazing to work with, and I gave her the themes, and she looked at me and she said, she thought about it, and she says, okay, well, I think actually England in the 60s would be a good place to do it, because it's the decade in which the English stopped looking backwards to the Second World War and started looking forward. So it was a period where fashion was form over function. Austin Powers being an obvious over the top version of that.
Right. It's a very eccentric version. But at its core, that was something that existed.
Yeah. So it's a mixture of real world references and understanding what kind of history we could build around it that could be interesting.
Nice. So I like the idea. So basically, you kind of had that dystopian world you kind of wanted. It sounded like your very talented art team kind of came up with the look and the visual. Where did the joy come in?
It was one of the first things. The Joy was really one of the first things that came in when we discussed. Our narrative director, Alex, who made movies. He was a scriptwriter for movies for almost 20 years.
You guys definitely pulled in the best of the best here.
Yeah, well, we're in a fortunate position in the industry where we've largely self-funded our projects. So we basically are in a studio where we get to do whatever the hell we want. And either fail or succeed by what it is that we end up doing.
Right, whatever ends up coming out. I love that. I love the idea. And if you guys do have questions, let us know in chat. I am seeing a lot of people do love it. A lot of people love, I saw, for the Kubrick art style. I love the idea, again, the Joy, being able to take that. I'm very curious about the story. Very curious myself. And to plug one more time, it comes out
April 13th, 2018.
on which platforms?
Got Xbox, PC. You can get it on Steam. You can get it on GOG. You can get it on Humble. You can also get it on PS4 and PS4 Pro as
There we
well.
go. Yeah, we're platform agnostic. We love all the platforms. Want to give it to as many people here who can get a chance on it. Now, I think we've sent Ethan and MK out there. I think they're getting all set up. We have roaming camera crews actually bringing the booth. Yeah, I know we've been up here chatting, but we have roaming cameras out there who are ready to bring you some of the booth action. So we're going to head on over there, so stay tuned.